I hope you're doing well. Today, I would like to share the message that I had a opportunity to share with my friend, Reverend Miozan Amaral, or the way I call her, Joanne, one of my Dharma friends in Massachusetts, who's leading a Zen group called uh, Zen Center North Shore. She has encouraged me to share a poem, and that's sort of the tradition she emphasizes with her friends, her Sangha members. And then she speaks Spanish, serves Spanish speaking members and people in the United States, also helping out the families, uh, immigrants. So that was a wonderful opportunity for me to share, again, my experience. And well, this time, I didn't just share my experience alone, but I wanted to share particularly this part of teaching called Doji. It's it's basically literally means the same matter, same phenomena. Um, Enki Roshi in the village from the village Zendo, I remember she translated into um, as an identical action, which was I thought was great translation. Um, it's the part of the teaching of Soto Zen Buddhism, which I particularly found helpful, beneficial. Before I start, I wanted to share the word that I was able to share the poem that I shared. And this poem was something my grandfather really liked. So since I was very young, I heard part of this poem over and over. And the reason I shared this for the poem was because this is the beginning of the fall season. And this is also an important time, particularly this year from September 19th to September 25th. It's called Ohigan Week. Ohigan is a particular term Japanese use uh, as the sort of time when we go visit our family graves, cemeteries, and pay respect to our ancestors, show our appreciation to our parents, grandparents. It's a sort of Japanese culture and tradition. But the ohigan as a word means O is an honorific sort of prefix that's and then higan has meaning. He means this, and gam means the shore. So if you chant Heart Sutra toward the end, there's this particular verse: Gyate gyate para gyate parasam gyate bodhiswa. Gone, gone, gone to the other shore of enlightenment. So this week was particularly the week we dedicate our time and energy to strengthen our practice, to strengthen our vows and aspiration. Right? Now, the particularly our emphasis, the sort of part of the practice we emphasize throughout this week, it's called six parameters, six kinds of practice, of perfection practice. Literally, namely, giving or generosity, discipline or morality, patience or constancy, energy or effort, meditation or contemplation, wisdom or prajna. Like I said, in a Japanese Soto Zen organization, there's a main tenets. And this tenet includes a certain principle called Shishogo. Shi means four. Um, it's a four significant practice of Bodhisattvas. And this practice uh, includes giving, loving speech, and benefiting others. And at the end comes this practice called Doji. Literally means identical actions, identical matter, same phenomena, same matter. While you may think that giving, loving speech, benefiting others are all sort of active actions, course of actions, you may think the Doji, on the other hand, is somewhat a little bit different. To me, it is the practice that always captured my attention and sort of fostered my curiosity about the Zen practice. And as I pursued my spiritual path, including all the detours that I took in the world of Christianity, in the world of intercultural education for the youth, in the local politics and city council, in my work now I'm engaged in North America. Doji can be said to be sort of one form of skillfulness or capability. To embody wisdom, compassion, empathy, not knowing, or simply humanity. And to practice Doji, we identify ourselves with others. For whatever reason, I like to use the word in. I know it's not grammatically correct, but we see ourselves in others, identify ourselves in those over there, and then let others identify themselves in us, or maybe not. But it's the sort of mindset or attitude that we develop. And incidentally, one of the priests in an esoteric tradition in Japan quoted these interesting words in his messages that he shares online. Unfortunately, it was in Japanese, uh, but the person's name is Koike Yoni, and from the Smadera temple. And he quoted this word, negative capability, used by John Keats, who was an English romantic poet. John Keats said that negative capability it's something that when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without reaching after fact and reason. And according to him, it is something like a sense without a sense. A true capability, your father said, has no fixed self or personality. He used this word in 1817 when he was referring to Shakespeare's creativity. I mean, personally, don't know much about his work except for his major pieces, masterpieces, the works. But still, I'm not like an expert, so I'm not sure if I'm entitled to describe his work. But it was just interesting to hear how his works were explained or described. Shakespeare's views and opinions are not imposed on his characters. He let go of his identity, allowed the story to unfold according to this mysterious, uncertain, unrevealed personality of the characters of the story. Each story allows people to interpret it according to their own capacity, experience, belief, age, genders, cultural backgrounds. And it does sort of sound a bit like a Zen practice, at least to me. Myriad stories continue to unfold through myriad functions of the world. Our human nature, um, well, part of my nature for sure, is this we incline to conclude the answer according to this particular capacity that we have, this particular culture that we were raised in, this particular personality of ourselves, our Sangha community, a country, etc. And yet, the story of Shakespeare is not narrated by Shakespeare himself. The story can be narrated by the reader until the reader sort of realizes that the story does not need to be narrated by, you know, an individual perception according to one's specific perception. And that's why people of all different backgrounds can be the part of the story. One large suchness is the word Zen practitioners often use, is free of our own narratives. This one large suchness we share may be narrated by others differently according to their religion, cultures, languages, their capacity, and personality, the whole context of society in that particular time of that particular country. We use the expression kaishu back in the monastery. We use this. It literally means ocean-like beings. And we use this term to address sentient beings or all the Sangha members sometimes. And to me, Sanghas or members who share this value, I like that. When we take homage to the Buddha and Dharma, that's somewhat easier for me. It's still vast, but sort of it gives a specific direction and a path at the same time. But we take homage to the Sangha. And when we take homage to the Sangha, we're taking homage to these ocean-like beings, free from the fixed self, free from a fixed personality. So Doji is a practice that is very deep and subtle, yet it has been the most influential and beneficial part of Soto Zen practice that I have cherished throughout my interfaith dialogue, education for intercultural study, local politics, and right now, the international relations, interlineage relations, indiscriminately serving the Sangha in the West and in the East. To serve the Sangha means to serve indiscriminately, because with the practice of Doji, there is no self or personality that finds it necessary to stay discriminative. How about making sense here? There is a text called Shishogi in Soto Zen school, translated as meaning of practice and verification. This is a text compiled in 1890, which is basically the summary of Dogen's Dogen's book called Shobon Genzo. And there's a text that goes referring to the practice of Doji as it is, for example, like the human Tathagata who was the same as other human beings. Self and others are without boundaries. The ocean does not reject any water. And this is Doji. And it is because of this that water collects and becomes an ocean. Now, that's the subtle nuance of Soto Zen practice. It is something we cultivate through various activities: parenting, working for your boss, working for your colleagues, working for your customers, clients, working for your community. Uh, I think Doji can be cultivated through all kind of detours, just a life in general. Now, so that's a very sort of a bit of a subconscious based practice, if I may say, if I may describe it that way. I would like to add, although, there's something that we say um, about the Zen practice. You know, Zen practice doesn't happen on the cushion alone. There's a way to let this practice get extended to off the cushion activities, and that's something very specific and something very concrete. So I share this with the members of Zen Center North Shore and my own groups in Long Beach. Everyday activities are all forms of enjoying the offerings of the blessings from this world, while it is also the process of enjoying the offerings, the blessing that come from us to the world. And we have hard time often recognizing this. Maybe we're sometimes able to recognize the blessing that come from the world as we 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 sort of share the moment of appreciation. But then often we forget how much we are offering back to this world. And sometimes lack of this recognition makes us feel like our life is somewhat insignificant or unimportant. So this practice is definitely beneficial to develop this awareness of the blessings that we receive and blessings that we give out to the world. Back in the monastery that I trained, we're supposed to chant a short verse called Gemon. Gemon is more or less means text of verse. If I may introduce some very well known or commonly used Gemon, uh, that includes Sutra opening verse, for example, that which goes, "The unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth." There's also a verse we chant or we say in our mind, prostrations verse, Raihaige. The nature of that which can be and is worshipped is empty and still. One's own body and the body of the other are in essence not two. May we together with all beings obtain liberation, giving rise to the supreme intention and relying on the ultimate truth. Now, I said this is off the cushion. For the, this is for the cushion. This is for the practice that happens off the cushion when we're not meditating. So there are also verses that we use when we're taking a shower, we're taking a bath, bathing the body. May all living beings be clean in body and mind, pure and shining within and without. If you wake up in the morning and brush your teeth, you can say, holding the toothbrush, may all living beings attain the true Dharma and be naturally pure and clean. As some of you might be familiar with the teachings his teachings, the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh from Vietnamese Zen tradition introduced this practice using the modern words. He introduced some of his modern version of Gemon. For example, when you're waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. If you're lying in bed, resting in the ultimate dimension, using snowy mountains as a pillow and beautiful pink clouds as blankets, nothing is lacking. You have dishes to do while you wash the dishes. Washing the dishes is like bathing a baby Buddha. The profane is the sacred. Everyday mind is Buddha's mind. If you're driving the car, before starting the car, I know where I am going. The car and I are one. If the car goes fast, then I go fast. If you're texting somebody, you're talking to somebody on the phone, words can travel thousands of miles. May my words create mutual understanding in love. May they be as beautiful as gems, as lovely as flowers. Well, to be honest, when we were introduced to this practice, we're supposed to do this for every small action that we take. But then we get sort of overwhelmed with the very tight schedule of the monastery, and we start to skip this, honestly, because it's just everything happens so quickly, and then because it happens at individual level, no one's listening, or we're not even chanting verbally, so it happens in their mind. So there are times that I haven't done that. Um, um, and then lack of this practice uh, leaves us sort of oblivious of, um, like I said, the blessings that we are constantly receiving and the blessings we're sort of giving out simultaneously. In my Japanese American community in Long Beach Buddhist Church, we have a beautiful sort of a fixed expression which goes, "May the merit of," well, for example, sharing my message here fulfills our heart and Father be extended to our loved ones, our family and friends, to all peoples, and to all living beings. May we together with them attain the awakening. So, I would like to encourage you, especially as this new season of the fall starts, to build this kind of habit in your particular words. It doesn't have to be as poetic. I don't have a talent to be a poet, but at least this particular line, like, may this humble merit be extended to my loved ones, family and friends, to people of all peoples and all living beings. It does help me transform these daily activities into a Buddhist practice and see what it does to our mind through this conscious activity and what it does to our subconscious and conscious everyday life, and how that affects our speech, thoughts, and actions. And especially when we do this practice with the beginner's mind. So if you're new, I think that's perfect. With the beginner's mind, it certainly has the power to transform our life into the path of Bodhisattva uh, way seekers. So I'd like to conclude this by sharing this verse. May the humble merit of sharing our message, our thoughts, our time, and our presence be extended to the loved ones, family, and friends, to all people, and to all living beings. ナムキエ仏、ナムキエ法、ナムキエです。ありがとうございました。Thank you.